All right, so this is the Simpsons Hit and Run for the Nintendo GameCube. This game was released in 2003, and it was developed by Radical Entertainment. This was a pretty popular game. It was highly rated when it came out. It was definitely a big improvement over their previous Simpsons car game, which was Simpsons Road Rage. Same developer. So this is the same developer. Just a few years later, they came out with this sequel that was really better in every single way. The graphics are better. It's a bigger world. There's more to do. The Simpsons Road Rage was basically a Crazy Taxi clone. So that's all you did. You picked up fares and you drove them to their destination. It was a really basic Crazy Taxi clone. Hit and Run is more like a Grand Theft Auto 3 clone. So you can walk around, you can find things, you get missions, races. It's got a pretty involved storyline, which it's actually a good storyline. They got all the voice actors from the show, and it's actually got really good humor. This came out in 2003, so by then The Simpsons would have been in about season 14. And I really lost interest in The Simpsons after season 10. Season 10, things really started to go downhill. Brad Bird left, Conan O'Brien wasn't writing anymore. And the writing, the style of the jokes and the writing and everything really changed around season 10. But this almost feels like it's The Simpsons in its prime. I haven't really played this game since it came out. I actually rented it on the GameCube back in 2003 when it came out. And I enjoyed it, but I didn't get super far. I don't think I got past Bart's missions. So you start off playing as Homer, and then you unlock Bart, Lisa, and Marge. The game's not really that long. I just didn't get that far. I found it pretty difficult. I remember getting stuck on one of Bart's missions back in the day. And the game can be very frustrating. A lot of stuff has time limits. And, depending on how lucky you get with traffic, if traffic's constantly getting in your way, it can be really frustrating when you don't make a time limit, especially on some of the missions where they have like 3 parts. And if you don't make the time limit on the final part, you got to do the whole mission over again. So there's a few times where I found myself doing the same tasks over and over again.
My model of the digestive system. Hey, where's the gallbladder?
I got hungry and it was a fig.
It was modeling clay.
Oh.
By the way, Dad, Mom called. She says she needs to talk to you at home before you go to work.
Oh! In your face!
Biggest downside of this game is going to be the platforming areas. Luckily, there's not a lot. Sometimes you're getting out of the car just to explore an area or, try and get on top of buildings to find secrets. But there are a few levels where you actually have to do platforming to collect items. Luckily, they're very, very far and few between. There's only a couple in the whole game, so it almost makes you wonder why they even bothered putting them in there. The developers certainly acknowledged that this is primarily a racing game or a car driving game. And so most of the time you're going to be in the car. When you're not in the car, you're usually just exploring. But the actual platforming levels, again, there's only a few. You do have to buy or unlock certain cars in this game for certain missions. And once you've bought a car once, you can basically bring it to you at any time. But again, this is a Grand Theft Auto clone, so don't forget you can basically hop into any car that you want. Any car that you see on the street, you can hop into and drive. I often forgot that myself while playing this game, and just for some reason was thinking you can only drive the cars that you've bought or own, but you can hop into any car that you want. This game was released on the GameCube, the PlayStation 2, and on the Xbox. I'm not 100% sure but I believe the GameCube version sort of sits in the middle. The frame rate is not perfect at times. You'll definitely see that in the video. In some of the really busy areas, the frame rate does drop. The game has a lot of screen tearing in here. I don't know if you'll see it in the video, but definitely when you're playing it in person on a television, you will see some screen tearing. But from what I understand, it's better than the PlayStation 2 version and not as good as the Xbox version. So if you have an original Xbox, or if this game's backwards compatible with any of the newer Xbox consoles, you may want to play it on the Xbox, but the GameCube's not a bad way to go either. I'm playing this on a real GameCube, by the way, using that Hyperkin, like 3-in-1. It's got the Super NES slash N64 slash GameCube, like multi-AV output on one end, and then it converts it to HDMI on the other end. You've seen that in a review. It's not amazing, but you know what? It's doing the job here. The sound slightly distorted at times. The gain or the preamp levels definitely a little too hot. But again, it's getting the job done. I think it looks okay, considering this is S-Video. It's not component. It's not progressive. It's not bad.
A nerd almost touched me! Too late, losers. I got the last game. 4-finger discount. Some crazy lady destroyed all the rest.
When will they learn? Video games don't kill people, they just kill their minds.
One thing with the races I found is they can also be pretty difficult depending on what car you pick. It's very important what car you pick, and not just because of you want the fastest car, but you need to find a balance between a car that's fast enough to be competitive in the race, but not fragile enough that you won't make it through the race without destroying the car. A lot of the races don't have any of the wrench logos. When you're driving around the open world, you'll see these wrenches occasionally, and if you drive into a wrench, it will fix your car up. But just like in Grand Theft Auto, if your car takes enough damage, it'll eventually explode, and you'll lose the car, and obviously you'll lose the race if you're in the middle of a race. And in some of the races, you've got AI cars smashing into you, or you're hitting the walls in some of the corners, and that's going to damage your car, and you've got to make it through 4 or 5 laps with that car. So you need to find a car that is sturdy enough to take some abuse. If you pick a big truck or a van, it's going to take a lot of abuse before it explodes, but it's too slow to be competitive in the race anyways. And if you pick a little convertible sports car, it might be fast, but you'll usually destroy the car before you finish the race.
Boy, Bart, you're getting a birthday present this year.
Perfection, thy name is Bart. Top of the world, march! Ah, sweet, sweet tangible rewards.
No surprise, this is a good game. I think most of you are familiar with this one. It's been touted many times as one of the best, if not the best, Simpsons games of all time. And if you're a Simpsons fan, you're going to love this game. The storyline and the sense of humor, again, reminds me of Simpsons in its heyday, Simpsons in its glory. And if you're a fan of like Grand Theft Auto 3, you might even like this game even if you're not a Simpsons fan. The driving is actually pretty good. The driving physics are decent. The controls are pretty good. They're maybe not perfect, but they're not perfect in Grand Theft Auto 3 either.
Perhaps you'd like to share some chewing gum. Shh.